In order to create a life you do not need a vacation from, pay attention to what your mind always harps on, what you're passionate about when it comes to huge life decisions. So marriage, children, motherhood, career, all these big life decisions. When you are thinking about committing to something like that, pay attention to what you are passionate about. If you ignore what you are passionate about, but go with the status quo or go with what your parents say, go with what society says, you will end up living the reality of that decision. And then the passion that was left unexplored will be your vacation, will be then what you have small increments of. Can you live with that? It's really important that you explore those passions in the full depths as you can, so that you can know, is this something that I can only have small increments of in the reality that I am wanting to choose? Can I have small increments of my alone time and have children? From exploring, you could end up realizing that what you thought could just be a small increment of your life, you want that to be your full life. If you're somebody who you're creative and you made the decision to do engineering, and now you living the reality of engineering, but now your vacation from that life is a small creative passions that you get. Can you live with that? If you are saying you want children, but every single time you're saying you want children, you're always talking about how you love your alone time, you love your sleep, you love these things, pay attention to that. How much of an alone time will you be satisfied with? Is 1 week out of the year good for you? 1 month out of the year good for you? If you never think about your motherhood experience, you being a mother, but you're always thinking about your time alone, that may be most what is important to you. And acknowledging that you love your alone time and you love your sleep, you love all these things that children could take away from it, doesn't mean that you can't have children. It just means you need to focus on that and interrogate that a bit more. What could end up happening? You could have children and you don't really think about your time alone. And then you realize, oh, I only have 1 week out of the year. That is not enough for me. And then what you will end up doing is living for your time alone, as opposed to living for your time with your children. Being a mother will be primarily how you will be. If you cannot enjoy that, if you do not see yourself enjoying that moment primarily, but you see yourself only mainly enjoying your time alone, motherhood may not be for you, and you want to pay attention to those things. For example, for me, whenever the topic of marriage came up, I never thought about marriage. I was always passionate about living alone. Anytime somebody was saying, oh my God, Ruhama, it's marriage, and people, my peers would be talking about marriages and they'll be talking about their husbands. I was like, I don't know, that sounds nice. But all I know is I do not want to move from my parents' house to my partner's house. I don't want that experience. I want to live alone. I really needed to have a long engagement. I was always harping on that. And I'm so glad that I leaned into that passion. I decided, you know what? I don't have no boyfriend. I'm not dating anyone. I'm gonna go live on my own. And I pursued that, and now I know this is me. Had I not pursued that, had I not explored that passion, what would have ended up happening? I would have maybe lived alone in that engagement period, moved in with my partner, and then realized, oh, I am now living a life that I need a vacation from because I did not lean into that passion. If you are thinking about big life decisions and your mind immediately goes to you're passionate about and adamant about having a particular thing, explore it. See how much of it you want, and can you also have the thing. You can acknowledge that you love being alone and still be a good mother, and motherhood will still work for you if part of what you're harping on is having a good motherhood experience. Like for me, when I would create stories in my head and I would be like, when you're making up stories about you and a person, I would do that. Whenever it got to marriage, I'd be like, all right, it's boring now. I'm gonna restart a new story. So in my head, that was just never my passion. I was always passionate about just living life, exploring life, dating, having fun. That was me. And so I just lean into that. So lean into whatever you're passionate about. When you're thinking about these big decisions, lean into what your mind is harping on. Don't just ignore it and just say, well, this is the status quo anyway, I'm going to do that. No. You could end up then creating a life that you need a vacation from, and then your vacation will be the things that you were passionate about and having it in small increments. If you're passionate about something, ask yourself, am I okay with only having a small amount of this and sacrificing that because I want the huge life decision or the thing that everybody wants? If you're saying, okay, I love my alone time, but I can be satisfied with a month out of the year. Heck, I don't think most mothers get a month out of the year. Can you be okay with a week out of the year alone? And you will never really truly be alone, you know? But can you be happy with a week out of the year alone? If your answer is no and you're thinking like, oh my God, I'm gonna need more, I know for a fact I like my alone time too much to do that. That is not something that I would enjoy. If I had children, I would be having a life that I need a vacation from, because I would always want a vacation from my children. I would always want that. I need like a week. I need a month just without anybody in my face. You can't really do that. Or at least you would then just be living for 18 years when I can get, like, you'll always be wanting to just until they leave, and you won't really get to enjoy the experience of motherhood. At least for me, that's how I would see it. So just pay attention to what like your soul brings up and sparks up, like what you feel passionate about whenever you're thinking about big life altering decisions.